What it do, family? Law 25 of the 48 Laws of Power through the lens of truth. We have made it beyond halfway, and we are still being advised to be divisive, be split, be confused, confuse others, or attempt to mislead, misdirect, misperceive, miseducate. The laws lead us down a path that seems oh so right to man. But in the end, the only thing you left with is your own destruction. Law 25, recreate yourself. Be the master of your own image rather than letting others define it for you. Now, mind you, here is the hint of truth inside of the illusion that makes it easy to adopt as a paradigm that you stand on and stand with or stand under. You shouldn't let other people define you. Other people's opinions are just their misperceptions or accurate perceptions of your actions. But if they are calling you anything other than what the creator, the source, all has said that you are by design, then they are absolutely wrong, regardless of how right they seem to be, because you keep partnering and believing what they say and keep broadcasting and promoting yourself as the very thing that they have judged you to be. So you accepting it as your own has made it hardened into fact for you, not them judging you. Them judging you, had you left it alone, had you been solidified in your identity, had you knew how to stand your ground. See, we always be talking about standing our ground in Florida, we ready to kill somebody. Oh, I want somebody to come to my crib. I'm from Florida. I stand my ground. Well, how about you learn to stand your ground in the spirit realm? How about you learn how to stand your ground when it comes to your identity? How about the next time somebody is calling you something that you are not, or judging you by your actions that do not reflect the truth of your creator's words and actions towards you when you were made in his image and likeness? How about you stand your ground then? How about you murder the lie instead of going back and forth with people in the flesh, because you're so distracted and you have so many expectations of the way that people perceive you and discuss you over dinners that you are not present for. So you have no preoccupation other than what people are saying and what people are perceiving from what it is that you are kicking out. And you got to get off that, because they're going to see you the way that they see you, regardless of the effort and energy that you put into it. If you are being a good person, if you are being solid, if you are being real, and you're extending that level of genuine generosity towards somebody that does not know how to perceive it outside of their past experiences and their traumatic ups and downs, and I had a jacked up mama, I had a jacked up daddy, my daddy wasn't never around, ain't nobody never loved me, nobody ever told me how they felt about me and genuinely stayed and meant that they was all trying to run game and all trying to manipulate me and just get my benefits from me. If that's all they know, it don't matter what you say, it don't matter what you do, they're going to perceive you as just another player on their stage, recreating a scene that they have harbored from the past and refuse to let go of. They check every new scene for signs of the old scene. You gotta know it. You gotta know it. You gotta know how to look for it. Be the master of your own image. Kinda. Because you don't get to decide who you are. You don't get to decide what you are. And the lie that you can, and the lie that you should be able to, and the battle for the fair right for you to be able to exercise that right that is not even really yours to begin with, has caused you and the people around you and our society so much pain and suffering because of ignorance, because of absence to the knowledge that it is not your job to be the master of yourself. It is not your job to be the master of your image. It is your job to know that you were made in the image of your master. Then you learn who your master is. You learn that the only master that you were called to submit to is within you and loves you dearly. You never are submitting out of fear. You are submitting out of the fact that the one who you submit to has never failed you, has never left you, and you oftentimes didn't even acknowledge the presence that was with you. Oftentimes didn't even recognize it. Understand the metaphysical story of the lifeline of Jesus in the physical is a representation of the life that you and I live in reality, in the physical. Jesus came to his own and they knew him not. The very people that God created, the Son came as an extension, the very reflection and full expression of everything that the Father was. You look at the Father, you see the Son. You look at the Son, you see the Father. He came to his creations, his very own people, the ones who he knew as beloved, and they knew him not. This is not a history lesson. This is not a historical lesson. This is not a religious sermon. Fam, this is a metaphysical representation of you and I inside of the very physical existence that we find ourselves in today. We are constantly being presented with representations of I am through interaction with other beings that are in front of us to reflect our very nature to us, and we do not recognize them. We judge them as all kind of evil, wicked things that we don't want to be partnered with. We even get it in our head that they're so twisted that we should dedicate some of our precious life to promoting and calling other people and letting them know that this is not somebody that they should partner with. You say the world wants to assign you a role in life. The world wants nothing for you. The world does not think about you. The world has absolutely no thoughts about you as an individual or thoughts about the collective. If there is a plan for the destruction of any one of us, for one, it originates on the inside of us, and two, it is only powered by the attention that we give it. So even if there is a maliciously intended government or a governmental party that does not have your best interests at heart, if you don't drain your attention on them trying to attack you, the attack won't even matter, because no weapon formed against you should prosper. That was a promise that came a long time ago, way before you was in the physical suit. So again, if you could just remember the dedication and the commitment of your creator, a lot of the things that you feel are viable reasons to worry, fret, and complain would absolutely dissipate. They would go away, vanish, no more. Once you accept that role, you're doomed. Once you accept what role? The role that you thought the world wanted from you, the role that you wrote, the role that you put yourself in, the role that you told yourself when you played it, everything would change, and then you blamed the world and you said that the world demanded this of you. Understand, this is what men do sometimes. Oh man, man, this is, ain't nobody there for a man. You understand? Man is always giving, always extending, and always got to be there for other people. He take losses that don't nobody else take. He got to be, okay, who wrote that definition? Who put you in that role, man? Brother, is it that this is what a man is, or is it that this is what you have defined being a man means for you? And I hope that by now, almost 100 talks in, we've got it into our heads and our hearts that we can never outperform our own self-image. So no matter how great the dream is, if you don't see yourself as the dreamer, as suitable and fitting for the dream, then you ain't gonna never have it. You're not even gonna get up and attempt to pursue it. Because before you move, you've predetermined that the dream is something that is superior to you as the dreamer. And if you move, it'll be because you've concocted a scheme, or somebody has presented you with an alternate route, a shortcut. And you'll follow that shortcut, and you'll follow your schemes right back to the beginning, right back nowhere. Remake yourself into a person of power. First of all, what is a person of power? Secondly, who determines who's a person of power and who's not? Could questions like this possibly be what caused us to pick up the 48 laws of power in the first place, as we desperately pursued to obtain in ignorance, something that we were gifted with at our creation. You've been on a pursuit for power. You've been trying to figure out how to obtain power, how to obtain influence, how to obtain status amongst the society that you operate in so that you can have more resources in the physical. But if you wanted more, why not depend on the provision that you were installed with at creation? If you wanted power, why not rely on the one and only true expression of power that is inside of all of us that you were programmed with at creation? I think the only reason you wouldn't do such a thing and you would replace it with something so unbeneficial for you is out of the ignorance, the lack of knowledge, that these gifts were given to you for you to utilize at your leisure for eternity. There were no prerequisites listed. I understand that religion gave you some. There were no conditions listed. I understand that religion gave you some. But the truth of the matter is, there was the gift of life extended to you freely. And inside of the gift of life, all good things are given to you if you know how to apply the gift towards the attraction of what it is that you see for yourself. Understand that's why it's important what you watch, who you listen to, who you talk to, who you allow to have influence in to express their opinions that you possibly are going to partner with. Because whatever it is that you see yourself as, you will become, because that's the gift of life that you were given. You could be anything. And it's crazy that we live in a world where most set out to be bums because they are operating with the gift of life, with the power, before understanding myself. Just bumming around. It's insane when you look at it. The picture of a spiritual bum. No different than one who is panhandling with nowhere to live or reside comfortably with walls, structures, and roofs with running water and luxuries and amenities of such. It's crazy to imagine yourself being a spiritual bum because you haven't returned home yet. Your home is rent-free. You don't have a mortgage. You were given a place in the royal palace eternally to operate not as a servant, not as a slave, not as a courtier. You were given authority to operate as the king operated in the kingdom, because you are the king's child. Everything that belongs to the king belongs to you. Understand real quick, right? There was a concept called tithing in religion where they said that you're supposed to get your paycheck and you're supposed to take 10% of your paycheck to the church and give cheerfully of your money. And because you did such a thing, the God who sits high, looks low, and misses nothing will open up the windows of heaven and pour you out a blessing so big that you won't be able to receive it. That was the presentation that helped keep the lights on and helped keep the renovations coming in. That was the presentation that allowed for large LCD TVs to become the replacement for you bringing your physical Bible to the church. Now you can just kind of look up at the screen that your tithes and offerings paid for. And that's not everybody's situation. I will say Some of these pastors do reach into their own pockets, reach into their own salaries, and I salute and commend them. Everybody is not malicious in their pursuit of growing a religious entity. Some are just misinformed. All right? But what if that scripture, what if that passage was not an economical passage at all? What if it was meant to be applied somewhere that you've never applied it, so you've never seen the beauty of it, let alone put it in operation for yourself? There's one mind. And in your fallen state, in your divided state, that one mind is divided into two parts. 10% of that mind is the conscious mind. This includes the things that you can see, the things that your senses have picked up on, your observations, your analytics, your judgments, your opinions, your critiques, your appreciations, all come through the lens of your conscious mind. 90% of your mind is the subconscious mind. So if there's one mind, 10% of it is the conscious mind that I've been living from in the ignorance of the power of me living from the 90% of my subconscious mind that is one with I am, inseparable for eternity, knows all things because of that relationship, could lead and guide me down a path of peace and harmony. And I have rejected that 90%, and I have settled for the 10% of my conscious mind, where I have the ability to create, modify, recreate, refashion, reorganize, restructure my ego, my presentation, who you think I am, who I think I am, who I say I am. All of these things are alterable because they're not real. The thing that's not changeable is my identity, because it was set by source, and my ignorance to my identity does not change my identity. It merely changes my pursuit and my path because of the lack of knowledge that I have. I'm doing things that I didn't know I didn't have to do because I didn't know what I had. I'm not doing things because I didn't know what I had. Our whole life is being directed by the ignorance of the truth of ourselves. And we're blaming other people constantly. Robert Greene tells us to recreate ourselves, correct? And my question for you is, other than that one time in your imagination, and then the time after that in your imagination, and the time after that in your imagination, where you had an imaginary problem and you needed some imaginary consoling, some imaginary comfort. So you went inside your imagination and you told yourself, in this imaginary world, outside of the knowledge of the truth of yourself, who you were, based on who you thought you needed to be to survive this imaginary moment. And in that moment, what in the hell did you create other than an imagination? Nothing. So to think that you can recreate yourself is to carry on in the dysfunction of operating from an illusionary version of yourself in an illusionary reality, thinking it's real, thinking that it has impact, thinking that it has benefit, thinking when you see yourself yielding the form and shadow of power over others who do not know that the only power that genuinely operates in any realm is within them, and you go to thinking that you're getting ahead, you're winning the race, and you are. You're moving the fastest, going nowhere. You're working the hardest to lose. So let's look at a sin real quick, and then let's get busy. A major step in the atonement plan is to undo error at all levels. Atonement, resurrection, the recreation, the remaking that is done for you Remember, we're not here to recreate ourselves because we didn't create ourselves the first time. So if I was created perfect and there was an absence of awareness of my perfection at my creation, and I operated outside of the knowledge of knowing that I was perfectly designed with all things on the inside of me needed to succeed, and I became aware of this error, why in God's name or anybody else's name would I choose to go to me to create myself anew? If it was done perfectly the first time by a perfect creator, it seems that all of my pursuits should be aimed at returning to a creator that never left me, which is easy work. Because if my creator is one who will never leave nor forsake me, if my creator is one who is with me, even if I make my bed in Hades, then when I turn my attention to my creator, it won't be a matter of how do I get the creator's attention. The creator has never taken his attention and his eye and his love away from me. So the minute that I turn my attention towards the love that has been being extended to me, there can be a partnership and a flow of the divine. So the atonement plan is to undo errors at all levels. Sickness or not right-mindedness is the result of level confusion, because it always entails the belief that what is amiss on one level can adversely affect another. We have referred to miracles as the means of correcting level confusion, for all mistakes must be corrected at the level on which they occur. Only the mind is capable of error. The body can act wrongly only when it is responding to misthought. You are keeping up with every mistake that your body carries out, and you are explaining it to people from the thoughts that pop up in your head to defend yourself from embarrassment, shame, and guilt, and the fear of separation and isolation. And everyone who knows truth is well aware that the body cannot act wrongly unless it is partnering with misthought. Your body has never done anything that didn't originate within your thoughts, which is why you have always sounded crazy to certain people. When you went to your mama and you told your mama that you slapped that boy or you beat that boy up because he was talking crazy or he said something or he did something, if your mama was anything like me, you got your behind tore up because your mother understood that the actions of your body did not have anything to do with the other person and what they said and what they did. What happened is you encountered something or someone and you started having some misthoughts based on your misinterpretations and you glitched. The body cannot create, and the belief that it can, a fundamental error, produces all physical symptoms. We're gonna run that back. I feel like I messed something up, but I don't think I did. The body cannot create, and the belief that it can, a fundamental error, produces all physical symptoms. All physical symptoms are created by the fundamental error that the body can create. You and I have been operating under the pretense that the body has the ability to create. You and I have put a shit ton of attention on what the body has been able to produce or what we think the body should have produced by now. And we have suffered because of the comparison of what we think the body should have produced by now based on compared to what it has produced in reality. And this whole equation is being written from the ignorance that comparison is no friend of ours. Only the mind can create because spirit has already been created. You do not have the ability to create anything spiritually. Everything in the spirit is eternal. It has been since the beginning of time and it will be. It's eternity, so I can't say to the end. And the body is a learning device for the mind. So let's run it back. Only the mind can create because spirit has already been created, and the body is a learning device for the mind. Learning devices are not lessons in themselves. Their purpose is merely to facilitate learning. The worst a faulty use of a learning device can do is to fail to facilitate learning. It has no power in itself to introduce actual learning errors. The body, if properly understood, shares the invulnerability of the atonement to two-edged application. This is not because the body is a miracle, but because it is not inherently open to misinterpretation. The body is merely part of your experience in the physical world. Remember, the body is temporal. The body is not eternal. So the body cannot be the true you. You were made in the image and likeness of an eternal source. So the body is a gift, a tool that has been extended to the eternal aspect of you so that you may learn of yourself by yourself as you become a full expression of yourself. And you were created not to be a witness of you. You were created to be a witness to I am. Trust me, you do not need to recreate yourself. You do not need to be out here trying to change and alter your presentation in front of certain people so that you can become a bigger player on your stage. You do not need to extend your confusion. You do not need to frustrate yourself even more by giving more attention to how people are perceiving and receiving what it is that you have conjured up inside of yourself as the latest attempt to be superior and be seen as superior by those who want the very same thing in the darkness that you are craving. What you genuinely need is to return to the original state, return to the knowledge of the truth of yourself and all other beings in front of you, that you were created perfect. Perfect. And if you're created perfect, unless you were intentionally trying to mess this up, why would you ever get it in your head to go and attempt not to because is again. Why would you go and attempt to create yourself? The work was already done. What did the character of Jesus say on the cross? And it seemed to be kind of vague, kind of cryptic. It is finished. What's finished? Your identity is set in stone. Your identity is unmovable. The truth is the truth, whether you believe it, whether they believe it, whether they've heard it, whether they can read it, whether they can comprehend it, whether they argue against it, attack it, it does not matter as long as you know how to stand your ground, as long as you know how to walk by faith, as long as you know how to recall the truth of the promises that have been extended to you that are irrevocable. The only thing you can do is take it and don't apply it. You can't even deny it. You give the 10% of your mind to the 90% of the truth of yourself. Forfeit all of your understanding for the understanding of the divine that was installed inside of you. You've been spending your time trying to program yourself, and you've been trying to do it using your perceptions. You've been trying to do it using comparison. Somebody got a lot of money. They say that something's good for you. You go out and you get it. Because you're programmed to, in the pursuit of material goods and an eternal life outside of a partnership with the eternal creator, you don't want the flesh to die. And it's a difference between eternal life and not wanting my flesh to perish. But before we dive too far, before we go too far, we'll pick up in Law 26. Pick up in Law 26 so we can hurry up and get through 48 laws of power so we can continue and end the observation of just how double-minded, just how far the beliefs and paradigms that we have tried to combine and carry at the same time are from each other. Right? Lock in.